You know, over the past couple of days, I've noticed something really weird on the internet. No, not that. Get your mind out of the gutter for like the next 5 minutes, you guys. Come on, for real. You can go back to gooning later. But the weird thing that I've noticed recently has to do with Nintendo and the gaming industry, and especially its connection to Valve and Steam. Trust me on this, it'll make sense in a moment. You see, there's that meme online where everybody who tries to compete with Steam basically just Kurt Cobains themselves. And you really can just kind of put that together, watching Xbox, PlayStation, Epic Games, EA, Ubisoft, practically every other company try to compete with Steam, literally doing the worst thing possible, ignoring the customers and consumers, and then blaming Valve for their actual existence for not being completely first place. But the thing is, there's another variance to this meme that I've noticed online as well, and it's basically this one. You see, where people are now taking Nintendo and putting them next to Valve and Steam and saying, oh yeah, guys, these are the last two bastions of the gaming industry. And this bothers me immensely. Anybody who knows what Nintendo has been doing, specifically on this generation, can clearly tell that they are not anyone to be trusted or to even put your faith into. And the crazier part is, Nintendo has been consistently going around and doing horrible things for the customer and consumer. Things like pushing game key cards, beginning the $80 video game craze, and at the same time, also adding the C button, basically the credit card button, a complete full-on physical button on your controller that cannot have any actual use whatsoever unless you attach a credit card to use those services directly. Let's not forget about also increasing the price of their previous generation as a markup in order to go ahead and make you buy the Switch 2 instead of staying with your Switch 1 as well. Oh, and let's also not forget the $10 tax for physical games on top of that, basically trying to force consumers into all digital and locking your entire game library onto their services while they shut down every single storefront from every other previous generation of consoles. Oh yeah, guys, Nintendo. Those guys. Really? Those are the ones you want to put behind the entire idea of being pro-consumer and watching the gaming industry completely shoot themselves in the foot? Yeah, no. Put Nintendo in that group and fix the picture. And there's a reason why I bring up those memes specifically, and it directly ties to what's going on in today's video. You see, Nintendo has been incredibly litigious, going around and filing lawsuit after lawsuit, trying to file patents that literally they did not in fact create, and also at the same time goes so far as to sue the US government over tariffs. On the opposite hand, though, we have Valve, who's been being sued by practically every other US state, and also knocking down those lawsuits as well. And to make things even crazier about what's going on, not only is Nintendo finally getting their just desserts and being sued by someone on their own, it also looks like Valve is putting Nintendo in their place. Because according to VGC, Nintendo has been sued by US players who say any tariff refunds it receives from the US government should go back to customers. Nintendo is suing the US government for the refunds on tariffs, which led to accessory on hardware and price increases. So do you still think Nintendo's your friend or this good bastion of the gaming industry? I say no. I think they are in fact one of the worst companies in the gaming space right now, especially being the most anti-consumer with everything we've talked about previously early on in this video. And what makes matters even worse is they're suing the US government over tariff refunds, but at the same time, they increase the cost of all those items onto you as a customer, raising the price for what you need to pay more for, and then at the same time, when those refunds hit, you're not getting anything back at all. And the sad part is it's going to go all back into Nintendo's coffers. So they made money off of your back, then they made money back off the government, and they're going to use that money to sue everybody else who they don't like. Congratulations, my boys. Fix the meme. You know it's wrong. But there's more to the article though, so let's check it out and go from there. The article says this: Nintendo's price changes were widely attributed to U.S. President Donald Trump's decision to impose sweeping tariffs on numerous countries and later pause some of them, except for a sizable tariff on China, where tech products are often manufactured. After the U.S. Supreme Court found that Trump didn't have the power to invoke the tariffs, last month Nintendo, as well as more than 1,000 other companies, sued the U.S. government for refunds, what it considered to be illegal implementation of the tariffs. As a result of this, two players, Gregory Hoffert from California and Prashant Sharan from Washington, are suing Nintendo, claiming any money recouped from tariff refunds should go to customers. Absolutely 100% correct. Any tariff refund should go to the customers who purchased those products during the entire market conditions fiasco that every single company was trying to go ahead and pass off those costs onto the customers and consumers to avoid taking any kind of monetary loss whatsoever. Literally passing off the buck to you and me because they wanted to make sure that their balance sheet and shareholders got the most money possible every single sale. And like suckers, we all bought it. Talking about, oh, market conditions, you guys, we can't control it. We saw Xbox do it. We saw PlayStation do it. We saw Nintendo and every other tech brand do it as well. Literally putting every other kind of cost onto us and then forcing us to pay more because we wanted the actual product and not do right by the customer and actually take some kind of a small loss on every single unit sold. What about their shareholders, you cry? The shareholders, that's what I say. But the thing is, though, there's even more, because these boys, they're on a tear. As reported by GameFile, Hoffert and Sharan are arguing that because the tariffs led to an increase in the price of Nintendo hardware and accessories, if Nintendo gets refunds on these tariffs, it will essentially have made extra money from customers. Saying, quote, unless restrained by this court, Nintendo stands to recover the same tariff payments twice, once from customers through higher prices and again from the federal government through tariff refunds, including interest paid by the government on those funds, the lawsuit says. The suit quotes Nintendo CEO Shuntaro Furukawa, who confirmed to investors in May 2025 that tariffs would have a direct impact on the price of its products. Quote, our basic policy is that for any country or region, if tariffs are imposed, we recognize them as a part of the cost and incorporate them into the price, Furukawa is quoted by saying. Ooh! Using their own CEO's words against them. This has to be completely bittersweet for Nintendo. The amount of times this company has sued basically everybody under the sun for literally existing has to be one of the weirdest things I've honestly ever seen. Going after Palworld, filing false patents, and then suing every other person because they don't want to put their games onto other platforms and take down every other emulator, while at the same time removing access and purchasing power from its consumers and customers to buy older games at all. This is exactly what Nintendo deserves, and clearly I hope that this whole thing actually does go farther than anybody else, because it could set a precedent to every other company and consumer that if these corporations are trying to take advantage of you, we should have the ability and the right to get our money back after being charged more because the government wanted to do something else that we didn't even agree with in the first place. And that is exactly what I feel should be happening. These refunds should not be going to the companies, especially if they raise the price on their goods during that tariff time. All that money should be going back to the customer and consumer, which means these systems should have their price drop. If you submit a receipt to Nintendo, you should be able to get that money back, or at least a difference of what it should be. And their products should have that reduction in price simply once those refunds hit back to that company. But you know what? They won't. They're going to make that double money as quickly as they possibly can, and people are going to be absolutely pissed when it actually happens. But the problem is Nintendo isn't done there, or at least not done catching the fattest L you possibly have ever seen, because it looks like Valve is going to be going around and really putting into practice what they're trying to do with not only SteamOS, but basically every single other handheld device literally ever made. Brad Lynch on Twitter said this: FEX and the ARM version of the Steam Linux runtime now come default with the Steam client. There are hacky ways to download and run the Linux ARM version of Steam today, but we are extremely close to everything being a one-click experience with these updates. If you know anything about ARM and those chipsets, you are probably incredibly excited right now. If you don't know what's going on, well, honey, you've got a big storm coming, especially if you're Nintendo. With ARM's existence, it's been incredibly difficult to get any other kind of OS running on that kind of chipset and system. The difference is, though, is that practically every phone and handheld device uses an ARM chipset. And now that SteamOS practically runs out of the box in almost a one-click experience on an ARM chipset, that basically sets up Steam to be part of every single handheld device and phone on the actual planet. Your entire Steam library in the pocket of your hand, playing natively on that device through SteamOS and Linux and Proton. Now, if you want to talk about true attack on Nintendo, this is exactly where it's going to be going. No longer requiring an actual system to be bought and purchased to be controlled by another company. Instead, it's whatever device you want with the OS that you need from Steam, and then the ability to play practically any part of your library that you possibly can, depending upon how strong that device is, on your phone as well, or handheld computer device. Hell, take a look at this, with Sam Pavlovic saying, actually freaking incredible, showing a Nokia N9000 with a keyboard running SteamOS. That's right, we're talking about a 15-year-old cell phone being able to run Linux and SteamOS and Proton and being able to play whatever game can actually function on that kind of device. And over time, it is absolutely going to get better and more performant and much easier to, in fact, run games on any handheld specifically. And I think the real funny part about this as well is you'll never believe what modders did next. According to Tom's Hardware, Steam is shown running on Nintendo Switch thanks to latest Proton Beta FEX 2604. Translates x86 to ARM-friendly instructions on Linux. With the article saying this, Valve has released Proton 11.0 Beta 1, but this perhaps inconsequential sounding test version comes with something revolutionary: support for ARM Linux devices. It isn't mainstream yet. It is a beta version, of course, but folks have already shown off the Steam UI running on a Nintendo Switch. So Steam gaming support on more open gaming devices from brands like Retroid, AYN, and Ioneo should be far easier. With AAGaming.me on Blue Sky saying this, Steam Linux ARM64 beta on Switch, while he's literally cycling through and showing SteamOS running on a Nintendo Switch 1. Oh, you gotta be mad at that, baby. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I love this every single time. One of the biggest things that Steam is trying to do is get into the mobile market. Hell, they did it with this. And every Nintendo fanboy hates this device. They loathe this thing for some insane reason, probably because it can play Nintendo Switch games, and soon, maybe even Switch 2 games as well. You never know how emulation goes. Them boys are cooking something up real nice, trust me. But I think the better part about this entire thing is the fact that SteamOS is not only open, is not only free, is not only pushing Linux to the forefront, it is also providing other people new ways and opportunities to bring life back into their old electronics and break free the shackles of what companies and corporations are trying to do by controlling every single piece of tech that you actually have. People say, Alex, you're a Steam glazer. All you do is talk good about Valve. Well, don't worry. I'll be here the next 40 years, waiting. But you won't have anything to say now, will you? Not at all. And clearly this is so much better, because the best part about this is Nintendo more than likely will try to sue Valve and literally not go anywhere, because they're not messing with Nintendo's devices specifically. It's people on their own using Linux and SteamOS to run that operating system on those other devices that Nintendo literally doesn't give a fuck about anymore. So in reality, they're not saying go out and hack your Nintendo Switch. They're not saying do all this stuff in Nintendo. All Valve is saying, we're providing you the operating system to run on whatever device that you want. It just so happens to be that Nintendo really does love those handheld devices that all basically use ARM as well. And that is going to be a key factor, because not only is SteamOS going to be more ubiquitous across the board with every other handheld device that comes out now as well, like the Aya Neo or any other retro device on top of that, or any other handheld device, because if you put Bazite onto the Xbox ROG Ally X, it actually runs incredibly great and really fixes a lot of the problems that Windows already has. Valve's play is not to try and take down Nintendo. No, Valve's play is actually to go through and provide an open source available operating system that can play any game from your library on Steam on any single device. Forget console sales. That's so passé. We're talking about complete and total open source freedom to play any game on any device just from that one operating system for free. And that terrifies Nintendo. That sends shivers down the spine of any major corporation. That Valve alone does this and every other company can't figure out what to fucking do, while they're going around and charging you more money on tariffs because of what's been happening as well, and then pocketing the refund instead of giving you that discount that you should have had from the very beginning. Isn't it great? It's so good. The article continues though and says, this new ARM Linux compatibility for Steam is thought to have been implemented now to prepare for the ARM-powered Steam Frame gaming headset, which we went hands-on with last November. That headset was described as a streaming-first device, but packs a very respectable ARM mobile hardware, such as a Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 backed with 16 gigabytes of DDR5. Valve is also building a verified style list for the Steam Frame ARM hardware, much like its efforts seen on Steam Deck. Thus, users will know which games will run well locally and which they might prefer to stream from their gaming PCs. Now you're going to have an actual verified list of games that are going to run well on ARM, so you know exactly what games you can run on any device that has that kind of chipset as well. But I think the best part about this is how Thomas Mahler on Twitter caught wind and said this. Thomas Mahler on Twitter says, not sure if everyone is following what Valve's been up to recently, but Steam on ARM just released, which is quite a massive deal. This now basically means that every future handheld gaming PC can target ARM and have Steam OS run on it, and Valve doesn't need to even produce the hardware themselves. There'll be plenty of companies out there that'll happily produce these handheld machines in all kinds of form factors, sizes, and prices, etc. That's quite a massive win for Valve that could be a seismic shift regarding consoles as well, since Sony and Microsoft are currently still stuck on just being able to offer that box in your living room that plays games, whereas Steam and your entire library will soon be available in pretty much any form factor you'd want. Valve's approach here is quite sneaky and quite clever. They'll keep iterating on this over time, and at some point the consumer might just find out that instead of buying a regular old console, they ought to just buy a Steam device instead. The only big argument to buy a console that's left is still exclusives. But given that both Sony and Microsoft have struggled in recent years to deliver on that front, this is really the first time in a long time that someone comes into the console space and could take over massively. With this release, it's now official that Steam is not just a PC storefront anymore. Now do you get it? Now do you see the insane changes that are happening in the gaming space right now simply because of Valve and Steam OS and what they're actually trying to do? Forget the idea of, oh, the Steam Deck only sold 4 to 5 million units. It's an abject failure by every Nintendo fanboy online. Nuh-uh, that's not the issue anymore. What they're going to be concerned with now is that every single device is going to run Steam OS, full control, Linux compatibility, and the ability to go through and have every program, every emulator, every ability to play any game on any device, no matter what, simply by having access to Steam and their operating system on every single ARM device. This is huge for every single mobile maker, period whatsoever. But in reality though, the best part about this is watching people who are Nintendo fanboys and fangirls actually see this news and say something stupid like this. The Nintendo goof on Twitter says, Steam has done more damage to gaming than most are willing to admit. With Fume Gaming replying and saying, yeah, because a company doing good by its customers is worse than being taken for a run by a publicly traded gaming platform. Perception responded to the Nintendo goof with their profile on Twitter underlining the words Nintendo shill. Oh, you gotta love it. Absolute insanity by Nintendo fanboys every single time. I don't know why everybody tries to go ahead and defend this company, even though they've completely screwed over every customer in every aspect. Try to block Pal World, try to file patents, screw you by raising more prices, and now trying to take a double dip on actual tariff refunds while they charged you more for their actual products. And here comes Valve and Steam saying, hey, here's all this stuff for free. Go ahead, go nuts, have fun. And you clowns are the first ones to complain about Valve and Steam. You gotta love it every time. It really is one of the most wild things to actually see. Someone calling themselves the Nintendo goof and acting this way, like an actual fucking goof. But this is what I absolutely love to see. Valve and Steam going around and putting every other major company on notice, whether they're Nintendo, whether they're PlayStation or Xbox or any other handheld device or any other operating system, including Microsoft and Windows, literally telling them, look, we're Valve, we're not public, we don't have shareholders to answer to, and we can do whatever the fuck we want. And they're going to disrupt the market every single time, putting themselves in the right position to be able to give you as a customer and consumer the best option possible. Not because it makes them money, but because they know if they don't take care of their customers, they don't have anything at all. And clearly no other company actually understands this motto in the first place. Truly the saddest time to be around, where only Valve is the one saying, hey, our customers are our actual lifeblood. Treat them like crap and they'll go somewhere else. But it turns out that every other company in the gaming space hasn't learned that lesson yet. And when they do, Valve will be there to teach it to them. Firsthand, baby. But you know what? I want to hear what you guys got to say about this video in the comments section down below. Are you going to check out SteamOS on ARM? Are you going to put it on any other old cell phone you have? Or maybe even hack your Nintendo Switch to have SteamOS on there as well? Or is this something that you're just going to say, I'll wait to see what happens with other devices coming down the pipeline? I want to hear what you got to say. Speaking about what you got to say, though, here's the comment of the day from yesterday's video. With Darth Pathfinder saying this, a step in the right direction is better than a step on a rake. No step on rake. My brother, absolutely, stepping on a rake is not fun at all. That's not really the kind of wood that I want smacked on my face. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. You know exactly what I mean. But as always, if you want to see more of this kind of content, though, more PC port reviews, gaming news, Steam Deck videos, hot takes in the gaming industry, and fanboy content, subscribe to the channel. If you want Discord access or emotes during live streams, become a YouTube member. It's as low as $1. Look, if you don't want to spend the buck, don't worry about it. I do an absolutely insane live stream every Saturday night, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, right here on this channel. And we get about 800 people insulting me for about 5 hours with text-to-speech. Trust me, it's a hell of a show. Basically just Sábado Gigante. If you're Hispanic, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So don't miss it. Saturday nights, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, live right here on the channel. Oh, and if you want to see even more of me, go ahead and check out Oh No, It's Alex Gaming. Link to the channel is in the description down below. New videos every Monday and possibly even streaming daily on that channel as well. But with all that being said, though, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great one, and I'll see you gooners next time. Peace!